Hello everyone, my name is Juan Manuel Fernandez Garcia. I'm a student of the Master of Social Work program at the University of Denver, and this is my final presentation for the Human Sexuality class. Today I'm going to talk about the naked truth about sex, how to develop more intimacy inside and outside the bedroom, written by Dave and Ashley Willis. In this review, I'll give you a brief overview of the book. I will talk about the authors and I'll give you some background of them. I'll summarize the main ideas and I will share what I consider to be the main strengths and weakness of this book and how it works with couples. Well, the summary of the book, I can say that is a Christian-based guide that explores issues related with sexual intimacy in married life. It's composed of 32 short chapters, each one offering tips of improving intimacy and connection, always from a biblical perspective and a Christian perspective. One interesting thing is that the book isn't meant to read in order. It's designed more like a tool of or a reference that Christian couples can turn to when facing specific challenges in their marriage. Some of the main topics, as I mentioned, include the theology of sex, biblical references to sexuality, advice on reigniting intimacy and how to handle infidelity, pornography, and also emotional distance. The book integrates both the male and female perspectives through its discussions. About the authors, I can tell you that according to their official website, Dave and Ashley Willis met in college back in 1999. Ashley earned a master's degree in biblical counseling from the Luther Rice Seminary in Georgia, while Dave holds a master's degree in communication studies from the University of Kentucky. They both specialized in Christian marriage and sex counseling, and they are hosts of the Naked Marriage podcast. In addition to their books and podcasts, they each offer one-on-one biblical counseling, marriage coaching, and mental health support for couples seeking how to improve their relationships. The book, in summary, begins with a reflection on God and sex, encouraging readers to reconcile these two ideas. The authors describe sex as something divine and natural, an essential part of human connection that God intended for couples to enjoy. They also acknowledge that talking about sex can be uncomfortable or even triggering, especially for those with negative or traumatic experiences with sex. Throughout the book, I'm sorry, throughout the book, the Willises use Christian values and biblical examples to support their counseling recommendations. Major topics include the importance of sex as a foundation for healthy marriage, differences in men and women's emotional and physical needs, the impact of infidelity, the impact of pornography, and practical tips to strengthen marriage within the Christian faith. The strengths of the book that I can mention is that it's simple and approachable in the writing style. The book uses everyday language that makes complex or sensitive topics feel accessible even for readers who might not be familiar with counseling or theology. The book reconciles the idea of God and sex. This is one of the main contributions. It removes the shame and taboo from sexuality in Christian context and reframes sex as something sacred and positive. It's flexible in the reading format because each chapter stands alone. Readers can jump directly to the topic that relates to what they're going through without feeling lost. It focuses on Christian couples. The authors write directly to a Christian audience, offering faith-based support that feels authentic and relevant for those seeking spiritual guidance in their marriage. blends counseling and biblical perspectives. The Willises combine practical marriage counseling strategies with scripture, giving readers both professional advice and spiritual reassurance. This dual approach can make the content even more trustworthy for Christian readers looking for a moral or an emotional alignment. The weaknesses that I can uh, identify in this book is that it is exclusively Christian focused. The book's guidance may not resonate with people from other faiths or secular backgrounds since most of its recommendations are based on biblical teachings. Also, its limited inclusivity. It doesn't address diverse types of couples such as same-sex or interfaith relationships, which limits its applicability in today's broader social context. The book avoids modern sexual diversity. Topics like kink, gender identity, or sexual orientation are not explored, which can leave out readers who are looking for a more open or inclusive view of sexuality. Also tends to oversimplify complex issues. I think that while its simplicity helps the readability, some chapters give advice that might not fully address deeper emotional, psychological, or trauma-related issues. Also, it lacks of strong academic or research support. Most arguments rely on personal experience, biblical interpretations, and coaching anecdotes rather than evidence-based research, which of course may reduce its credibility from a professional or social work perspective. In conclusion, The Naked Truth About Sex is a useful and well-intentioned guide for Christian couples who want to strengthen their intimacy through faith and communication. It offers practical, encouraging advice rooted in scripture and seeks to normalize healthy conversations about sex within marriage. Although it's limited in scope and doesn't address all forms of relationships, it succeeds in its main goal, that is to show that faith and sexuality can coexist, and that intimacy is an important part of spiritual and emotional well-being. Thank you for listening to my review. Hello everyone. My name is Juan Manuel Fernandez Garcia and I'm a student in the Master of Social Work program at the University of Denver. In this short reflection, I'll share what I learned from The Naked Truth About Sex by Dave and Ashley Willis, how it connects to my values and a future social worker, and how I plan to apply these insights in my practice. What I learned from this book is that really changed how I view the relationship between religion and sexuality. I used to see them as opposites, but the author showed that faith and sex can coexist in harmony. They describe sex as something divine and natural meant to build connection and intimacy between married partners. That message, that message challenged my own assumptions and reminded me that sexuality doesn't have to conflict with spirituality. It can actually strengthen it, and it also and I also learned that Christian sex counseling is a real and valuable practice. Many couples want guidance that aligns to their beliefs, and for them, faith-based counseling can feel more genuine and safe. As a social worker in training, this reminded me that effective support must always respect clients' worldviews and values, not just rely on ours. Another key takeaway was the importance of referring clients appropriately. If a Christian couple is struggling with intimacy, a faith-based marriage counselor might be the best fit. That kind of referral shows a cultural humility and helps clients feel understood and respected. On the personal insights, well, on a personal level, this book gave me the insight into heterosexual marriage dynamics, something that I haven't experienced directly as a gay man. It helped me understand how faith, gender roles, and communication shape intimacy in Christian couples. What stood out most was realizing that the emotional needs are universal. Love, trust, and connection are the same for everyone, regardless their orientation. That awareness deepened my empathy and reminded me that as social workers, we support the human experience, not just the categories or identities. It was sur- it was a surprise for me to see that the Bible talks openly about sex, not as taboo, but as something good and even encouraged in marriage. Even though I don't share that religious framework, I appreciated seeing how faith can help couples find comfort and connection. In a critical perspective, I can say that, of course, the book has its limitations and it focuses only on Christian and heterosexual able bodied couples, leaving out same sex, interfaith, and diverse relationships and from a social work perspective, that narrow focus limits its inclusivity. Our profession values diversity and equity. So while I can appreciate this book as a tool for Christian couples, I also recognize its bias. It also oversimplifies some emotional and psychological issues that require deeper trauma-informed care. That's where social work practice complements faith-based counseling by addressing the complexities with empathy, skills, and evidence-based approaches. Well, the application to practice while reading this book made me think about how I want to handle conversations about sexuality and relationships, and it reminded me that religion can be a strength, not a barrier. When I meet clients who identify with strong faith values, I can now approach that part of their identity with curiosity and respect instead of hesitation. It also applied the universal lesson from this book: honesty, communication, and emotional safety with all clients, regardless of faith or identity. And if needed, I'll make referrals for both secular and faith-based providers, ensuring clients receive culturally competent care that fits them. Most importantly, I will remember that religion and sexuality can coexist, and acknowledging that balance helps people feel seen and whole. In conclusion, The Naked Truth About Sex helped me understand the deep connection between faith, love, and intimacy. Even though it was written for a specific audience, it taught me to look beyond my own lens and appreciate how others experience relationships. As a future social worker, I'll carry these lessons forward to meet clients where they are, honor their beliefs, and help them find healing through their understanding and respect. Thank you for listening.